The issue of Catholic Church consolidation, merging parishes and closing churches because of dwindling membership, can be upsetting and emotional for parishioners who love where they attend services. And it's a difficult situation for church leaders responsible for shepherding financial resources and in making those tough decisions. In this Catholic Life report, Mark Irons examines the complex situation with a visit to Chicago, where some Catholic parishioners are still troubled by the closure of their church from several years ago.
They come to pray regularly at their beloved Catholic Church in Chicago. They sit on chairs outside. Going inside isn't possible because this church is boarded up and it's been closed for nearly 7 years.
We're still a community. We have our community. We are the people. Exactly. We're still here.
St. Adelbert Church is standing vacant on 17th Street. Yet former parishioners like Blanca Torres still gather, light candles, hold rosary beads, and lift up prayers on the sidewalk underneath scaffolding. The parish was first home to Polish immigrants who built this beautiful church more than 100 years ago. It was named after a favorite patron saint and martyr, St. Adelbert. Eventually, Mexican immigrants filled the pews as they flocked to the surrounding Pilsen neighborhood, an area in Chicago with a lively Mexican Catholic presence.
We went to school here. We had all our major things here happen here. Our community was here. The Polish community welcomed my mom with open arms.
Remnants and colors of both the Mexican and Polish heritage that once filled this church with life now sway or stand silent outside. The Archdiocese of Chicago cited major costly repairs as part of the reason for closing the church in 2019. It's not just happening here. In cities including Baltimore, New Orleans, and St. Louis, once thriving hubs of Catholicism, church officials have had to make tough decisions. They say low mass attendance, priest shortages, financial constraints, and lack of resources have caused some parish consolidations and closures. This month, the Archdiocese of Dubuque in Iowa announced weekend masses will stop at more than 80 churches amid a restructuring plan to merge parishes.
Trying to be authentic with people. Yes, this hurts. Yes, this is scary. Yes, it's different than anything we may have imagined. But Jesus is still good. He still desires salvation through his church to be spread. So what does that look like for us?
Father Aaron Junge in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, whose parish is affected by the restructuring plan, says even with an ever-changing Catholic landscape across America, faith should remain full of hope.
G.K. Chesterton has this wonderful line that we follow a God who knows his way out of the grave. And so that's why we should never look for the final death of the church. And so this is another moment of Jesus leading us out of what looks like a grave into a new reality.
When a church building does have to close, what's next? How will these once holy spaces be used? And could they still be of service to the faith in new ways? After the last Mass inside St. Adelbert, this video was shot by former parishioner Julie Sawicki.
The candle that is continuing to burn despite the closing of the church and its deconsecration.
We continue to see this as a house of worship, a Catholic house of worship and a house of God.
Sawicki is president of the Society of St. Adelbert, the group formed to preserve and revive this historic complex of buildings, which also includes an old rectory, convent, and school. Sawicki says they want to retain the spiritual character of these buildings. The group has proposed transforming this into a shrine with a retreat house to generate revenue.
For this enormous Polish community that was here on this side of the city, this was for us our St. Peter's Basilica. This was our cathedral.
The Archdiocese of Chicago still owns these church buildings and property. 7 years have passed with no sale, but there have been some interested buyers. From a non-denominational Christian church to a developer who once turned a synagogue in Miami to an event space that could be used in part for same-sex weddings. Sawicki claims the Society of St. Adelbert has the needed funds to purchase this property. Eric Wolin, the Chief Capital Assets Officer for the Archdiocese, told us the Archdiocese would consider any serious offer on the property and acknowledge any proposal should be respectful of the previous sacred site. The nonprofit, non-religious group Preservation Chicago, advocating for historic buildings in the city, added St. Adelbert to its annual list of most endangered buildings years ago.
This church and this complex of buildings, means so much to this community. It is a cornerstone of the community. It may be deconsecrated, but that doesn't make it any less important.
Ward Miller is the executive director. He worked alongside former parishioners to secure landmark status for the church, which means in part it's protected from demolition.
I think we've learned from the community that this is a sacred space.
And that's obvious from those that still meet up here weekly.
When the sun goes down on this shuttered parish, the prayers are lifted up by those who still call this place home.
Among some, there's still frustration that this church was closed in the first place.
What is your hope for this building?
We want it reopened. There was no reason.
Anina Jakubowski's mother was a loyal member of this parish, and she calls the church a gift from the Polish people to the city of Chicago.
This is also part of my heritage.
Isn't it just the building?
Oh, now you sound like the bishop I talked to. Honey, why are you attached to brick and mortar? I said to him, do you not go home to your brick and mortar house to see your family?
For some, like Dalia Radecki, this now boarded up brick and mortar remains a battered holy site worth visiting, named after a saint worth calling upon.
St. Adelbert is, a patron to all these people here. Look at him.
The fight to revive St. Adelbert into something these parishioners could be proud of will continue. What's next for this building is still in question. But perhaps more importantly, what's next for the people across America who experience a parish closure? Will they continue practicing their faith at another Catholic church?
Why do you still come to this closed church?
Because this has been our church.
Isn't it time to find a different church home?
No, we're going to fight till the end.
Many might be struggling with the loss of their particular faith community.
We have to sit with them, listen, receive that grief, but then not allow it to become a black hole, and instead go, okay, so what more is Jesus looking to give?
Though there are some closed Catholic churches, there are far more open ones where the sacraments, a key part of Catholic life, continue to be available, such as the Eucharist and confession. Father Jungi says the sacraments provide concrete assurances of the presence of Jesus Christ.
We can never, ever abandon our faith just because a building or a community are no longer accessible to us in the way that they were before. And in some ways, it would be like continuing to go to the empty tomb when we know that our Lord is risen.
Mark Irons, EWTN News in Depth.